Hello everyone, a very good evening. Welcome to Shri Primetime News. I'm Surasi Gunasekara. Let's look at the headlines first.
North Chief Minister slams state and the judiciary. Public meeting to abolish executive presidency. Major rally against executive powers.
India and Sri Lanka have the longest continuous historical link, and both nations have been culturally and historically very close up to this day. Sri Lankan Prime Minister D.M. Jayaratne said Manipal, India on Saturday.
In his convocation address at Manipal University, he also spoke about enhancing Sri Lanka's unbroken lineage of friendship with India and mentioned reference to Sri Lanka in the Ramayana. He congratulated India on the success of its Mars mission. India has demonstrated its powers to the world by successfully launching a rocket to Mars, he said.
Jatika Helurume, together with opposition political party, decided to organize a public meeting on abolish executive presidency on Wednesday at Muthaya Ground, Colombo 2.
Commenting on the meeting, Venerable Madhurwavi Sobhita Thero went on to say President Mahinda Rajapaksa own much more this time, abolish executive presidency and grant more powers to Prime Minister. If the President agrees to abolish the executive presidency, he should not want to hold another election next year, Sobhita Thero said. Meanwhile, Jatika Helurume parliamentarian Venerable Athuraliya Ratana Thero said powers granted to the executive presidency leads major corruptions.
Tamil Nadu Congress Party President EVKS Ilangovan has said if Modi wants, he can throw away Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa out of his post.
While talking at the press meeting at Satyamurthy Bhavan in Chennai today, he has made this above statement. Adding further to the above statements, he has also accused against the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. O. Pannirchelvam, for not serving for that state welfare functions properly.
Moves to name former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga as the presidential candidate of the United National Party have been hampered by legal barriers.
That former chairman of the United National Party, a close rally of the United National Party leader Malik Wickramasinghe, has embarked on a mission to file former president as the presidential candidate of the main opposition party. Samara Wickrama, cashing in on his close association with the party leader, has attempted so sabotage has moved to appoint a United National Party Leadership Council chairman Karu Jayasuriya as the presidential candidate of the party. However, according to party sources, the majority of United National Party parliamentarians are still supportive of Jayasuriya's candidature. Meanwhile, local media Political Columns on Sunday reported that there are certain legal barriers standing in the former president's way to the candidate.
The government of Sri Lanka has accused upon the United National Commissioner for Human Rights, Said Al Hussein, by saying, by losing patience, he is condemned against the servant of this country. By losing patience is using the words of discredits against the government.
The Sri Lankan government has sent a reply towards a report of the United Nations Human Rights Commissioner. This reply letter has been sent by Sri Lanka's permanent representative to the United Nations High Commission in Geneva, Ravinatha Harisinghe. In that letter, it has been stated that the United Nations Human Rights Commissioner's statements will certainly affect the future constructive decision and talks with the United Nations. The United Nations Commissioner of the Human Rights, Said Al Hussein, has been condemning against the Sri Lanka's violation of human rights and the human rights abuses in war crimes, and with regard to this, Sri Lanka Human Rights Council investigation into reliability, integrity and the attack on the Sri Lankan government has been carrying out by a series of condemns against Sri Lanka by the United Nations Commissioner for Human Rights.
A major rally is to be staged with the participation of the several political parties grouped to include the Jathika Hala Urumaya to push for the executive presidency to be abolished.
The rally will be staged at the Muttaya Playground in Colombo on Wednesday. The leader of the People's Movement for Just Society, the Venerable Madhulwave Sobitathero, told reports today that President Mahinda Rajapaksa still has time to introduce constitutional changes which give an executive prime minister and parliament the power and not the president. He said that if the president listens majority opinion, which is against the executive presidency, then there will not be a need to hold a presidential election next year. The Venerable Madhulwave Sobitathero said that the attempt to gather support for a common opposition candidate for the presidential election next year is not to have another president but to use the candidate to abolish the executive presidency.
Slamming the central government and Supreme Court, visiting the Chief Minister of Sri Lanka's northern province, C.V. Vigneshwaran, today claimed the state violence in the island continued and the judiciary to play the role in foisting the second-class citizenships on Tamils.
On his first foreign visit after taking over as Chief Minister of the Tamil-populated northern province, he also stressed that India has legal and moral obligation to ensure the welfare of Sri Lankan citizens. State violence in Sri Lanka continues. Tamils, though the worst affected by far. Other minorities such as Muslims and Christians have been targeted with a view to project a government that is representative only of Sinhala Buddhists and to portray new enemies and targets, he said. Delivering a lecture organized by People's Union of Civil Liberties in Chennai, he contended that the Lankan executive was emboldened by the series of decisions made by the Supreme Court in supporting bills and constitutional amendment and holding with the executive in the fundamental rights case, the Press Trust of India reported. The Sri Lankan judiciary has fostered a culture of impunity in many ways. Sometimes very insidiously, it has failed to preventing a culture of impunity and has contributed directly to the executive's authoritarian rise, said the former judge of Sri Lankan Supreme Court.
Mr. S.W.R.D. Bandaranaike was reported by the Ceylon Morning Leader of the 17th of July 1926 to have argued that the Tamils, the Low Country Sinhalese and the Kandyan Sinhalese had lived for over 1,000 years in Ceylon and had not shown any tendency to merge. They preserved their language, their customs and their religion, and to have stated firmly that he was, this is what was said, that Bandaranaike was convinced that some form of federal government would be the only solution. This is what the Sinhalese leader himself said. When a group of people are threatened as a group, it only strengthens their pre-existing right to self-determination. The level of threat that the Tamil-speaking peoples have faced in Sri Lanka exponentially strengthens the right to self-determination. In Sri Lanka, national processes have failed and no reasonable person could be expected to have any confidence in the internal processes. Barely a week ago, even the usually euphemistic Commonwealth Secretary Mr. Kamalesh Sarma, spoke of the lack of independence of the Elections Commissioner in Sri Lanka and the need for reduction of the military activities in civilian life in the northern province. I know both these issues firsthand. It is a testament to the courage of my people in the northern province that they voted overwhelmingly for the Tamil National Alliance despite the terror and misinformation unleashed by the Sri Lankan military and associated militant groups.
Coming up next, island-wide in few seconds.
The Presidential Commission to investigate into complaints regarding missing persons has interviewed a total of 172 complaints during the public sitting it held in Mullaitivu district for the second time. 3 children who lost their parents at the coastal area by the landslide were handed over to their close relatives. The museum, which was established in Madamulana in the memory of legendary politician D.A. Rajapaksa and his wife Dandina Samarasinghe Dissanayake, was declared open under the patronage of President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Former Lankan High Commissioner to Britain Chris Nonis lashes out female employee service under him.
US President Barack Obama and Russian President Putin, Russian officials said it would negotiate.
Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit to be held next week in Beijing, the Chinese capital. Then, in Australia, the G20 summit is held. Russian President Vladimir Putin, the two conventions, US President Barack Obama will attend. In this case, the two principals of these two events is expected to meet personally.
ISIS terrorists wanted to kill Pope Francis, the Vatican ambassador to Iraq, Habib al-Sadid, said.
Mr. Habib al-Sadr said in an interview to the Indian newspaper, ISIS terrorists wanted to kill Francis Pope. He said that he felt intimidated. Francis said, "The Pope, I would say the only thing that will stop the atrocities of the terrorists, but those who do wrong, and to stop the work of the said act."
The third one-day cricket match in Hyderabad, India, Sri Lanka beating the team won the series.
Go through the... Will be another ball. Lovely work out of Fernando.
Watching for this, be at their best in the field, particularly with batting. The shooter Fernando got that awful mess of it.
Well played. Played it. We'll get another. Single off. Normally they very well with Sri Lanka.
Sri Lankan cricket team in India who have participated in the 5-match ODI series. In the case, the India-Sri Lanka one-day match between the 3rd and the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium in the Hyderabad happened. Sri Lankan cricket team won the first match toss chosen 242 to 48.2 overs, losing all wickets in the Sri Lankan team. Target of 243 runs to win the Indian team was determined.
That might be thinking but not given. Very good. It's gone the
Fine leg. Big boundary, so that very, very...
He's got to look shots. Word from you. Was a good position, but he was still boundary. Raina gets up.
The field is so... Raina didn't... one area of his is to still it's bad delivery, but the end result...
2 wickets, they have him going. Wide. Raina, there could be a run out. Run out, pretty at the nose, and the disaster is to the third.
That's all from Sri News Desk today. Have a pleasant evening. Good night.